7 reasons why enterprise architecture efforts often fail. While there are many reasons a project can fail, these are 7 of the most common fails as evidenced by the FIAC team in their research, working with students, and supporting clients. Fail number 1. Models of versus modeling for. This error is common where there is no clear relationship to mission or business outcomes. This fail often occurs when the team has created models of something but do not necessarily have a clear understanding of the purpose for which they are modeling for. Architecture that does not address a set of stakeholder concerns often results in low perceived value by those stakeholders. How to address? One technique is the development of a line-of-sight model to ensure a clear view of objectives and measurable outcomes in design development. All models in an architecture description must contribute either directly or indirectly to the outcomes. If traceability to the outcomes is lost, then architects must stop and assess their efforts. Fail number 2. Using paper-based architecture. Paper-based architectures are those that are done using common office automation tools such as Visio, Lucidchart, Microsoft 365, or Google Workspace. Architecture elements updated in one diagram are not updated automatically in others using such software applications. Referential integrity is very difficult to maintain, thus paper-based diagrams tend to have a limited shelf life, unlike meta-enabled tool-based models. The enterprise is constantly changing, and the models must evolve and live as a part of a decision information repository. How to address? Examine the transition to a meta-enabled architecture tool that supports traceability and referential integrity between architecture elements to include network analysis. There are a broad range of cost-efficient tools available for architects working on a limited budget, such as Modilio, Archi, Eclipse, and many others. Fail number 3. Developing an overly abstract architecture. Overly abstract architecture are usually the result of a limited or missing stakeholder engagement and input in developing models and design. The lack of regular stakeholder engagement remains a persistent problem in developing architecture that stakeholders find valuable. Indicators of this fail occur when stakeholders don't see themselves or their vocabulary in the models, or need the artifact's value to be explained to them. The resulting design is often not representative of the necessary level of detail to be actionable by users and implementers. How to address? One critical technique is the use of rapid instantiation. Developing and sharing models early and often allows for stakeholders to have a sense of ownership and encourage active participation. Such an approach helps to ensure appropriate level of detail is represented in the architecture design. Fail number 4. No internal governance process. No or low levels of internal governance processes are generally a sign of low enterprise architecture program maturity. Symptoms of this fail can be evidenced by such things as inconsistencies in how models are developed, low information reuse between architecture descriptions in the same enterprise, or resistance by the organization to using architecture models as a part of their decision-making processes. How to address? Architect the architecture program. Identifying workflow for the development, approval, and acceptance of artifacts helps to ensure that organizational stakeholders can be active participants. Development of work guides such as architecture development guides or ADGs help provide consistency in artifact development as well as communicate EA program capabilities to the organization as a whole. Another critical element is identifying how stakeholders can access the EA repository in a controlled manner, with the role of the EA being that of steward, vice gatekeeper. Fail number 5. Focusing on the to-be without understanding the as-is. Maya Angelou once said, "If you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going." To us, that quote summarizes the difficulty with architecting for the future without understanding the current state. Evidence of this fail are architecture designs and plans that do not support planning and project efforts. Future efforts may not represent key aspects of how business must be done because of regulatory guidance, for example. Even future planning techniques such as backcasting ultimately require that you map back to the current state in order to understand the effort to transition to a future or to-be state. How to address? Often the aversion to capturing the as-is state is driven by a number of factors, such as access to stakeholders, time available to complete the architecture, and so on. However, even the development of a basic as-is architecture across domains such as operations, data, and application can provide enough information to help understand if the future states are incremental or transformational in nature. This is critical to understanding the level of effort and impact to the organization, and if future plans are even suitable for the organization impacted, as well as its impact to partner stakeholders as a part of the operating environment. Fail number 6, and then magic happens. This is a term we use when we receive a set of architecture deliverables and there is no transition plan. Related to fails 3 and 5, there is no magic wand that takes the organization from the current to some future state. Transition plans are often overlooked or forgotten as a part of architecture deliverables. How to address. Begin with the end in mind and cultivate a multidisciplined team and mindset. Transition planning takes a village. Architecture transition plans should identify roles and critical steps in transition, and architects must also be prepared to be in a support role with project and program managers likely leading incremental steps in implementation. Fail number 7, lack of traceability beyond requirements. Related to fail number 2, architects require the ability to look at the enterprise as a whole and not just tracing requirements in their allocation to system elements. Evidence of this fail is the inability to look at changes such as modernization or deprecation to non-critical or supporting system elements and address concerns around risk and resources, thus impacting successful implementation and operation decisions. How to address? Similar to the approach in fail number 2, a meta-enabled tool is essential to tracing all architecture elements and not just requirements. However, architects also need to look at the inclusion of analysis tools, such as a network and simulation analysis tool capability, to look at impact in a quantifiable way, addressing factors such as risk and resource allocation. Enterprise architecture efforts generally do not fail for any single reason, but are usually a combination of challenges. The fails mentioned in this video is an attempt at identifying some of the more common challenges. Recognizing problems or resistance by the organization to the use and adoption of enterprise architecture is a critical first step to reducing the likelihood that architecture descriptions become shelf or wallware. Please consider subscribing to our channel and hit the notification button. Thank you for watching.